Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Another amazing CTO Insights. I love seeing familiar faces. Thank you, NextPath, for always, being there for us and being part of this. Yeah, our last one for the year, but we'll be coming strong next year with some more. So looking forward to this last presentation. Keeping it nice and simple. Today we have speaker Bill Moore. He is the founder of AI Joe, and I will let him do the rest of this intro. But yeah, thank you for being here, and all have a great time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm Bill Moore, and I started programming with punch cards. Nice. And that's a programmer's way to say that I'm old, okay? So, but it's also a way to say that I've kind of seen in our modern day of, sitting in front of a desk and writing code, I think I've seen all the changes, right? I've seen all of the big changes during my days. I was actually, I was a physics major, and I was working in a laboratory. They called it a scholarship. Felt like a job, but my thesis was a large Fortran program to take data from that lab and do all the number crunching. So then when I finished my master's degree and I was looking around, of course, I wanted to be a physicist and save the world. But instead, there were so few people that actually had a successful computer project under their belt, that all the computer companies made me much better offers than the physics laboratories were making me at the time. So I ended up at Hewlett-Packard right out of school, and that was a long time ago. It was a wonderful experience, but I had already kind of discovered an entrepreneurial streak in myself. So after a few years there, I started kind of like doing what a lot of you guys are doing, I guess. I started a little consulting company. I was in Houston, moved to Houston at that time. Grew that to about 14 people. Then the whole object technology thing came along, right? The shift from Fortran, COBOL, and C to the object languages, right? To Java, C++. At the time there was Objective-C and Smalltalk. Does anybody remember Smalltalk at all? A few people? Okay. It was the best object language. It didn't make it because of bad marketing. It came out of Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, the same place that so many advances came out of. But in any case, I shifted my company to consulting with this new technology. And a few years later, I had offices in New York, Switzerland, a programming facility in Bangalore, India. And then a couple of years after that, I was speaking at NASA. They have a software quality group that meets every quarter, and I was the speaker that day. After the talk, a couple guys came up to me and said, we're with Perot Systems. If you know Perot, Ross Perot, after he sold his company to sold EDS rather to General Motors, when his non-compete was done, he started Perot Systems. And these guys were with Perot Systems. They came up and said, we have to have you working for us. What can we do? And I said, well, I'm available. I just have 300 employees. You have to buy the company, and I'll come work for you. And they did. So then I reported directly to Ross Perot for 4 years, and it was he was quite an interesting character to work with. He had just run for president, right? I'm not sure if he was still listed as the richest guy in the U.S. or not at that point, but so I reported directly to Ross Perot for 4 years, and then I bought an island off the coast of Belize. Everybody talks about buying a private island. Well, my wife and I actually did it. We moved to Belize now. So I tried to retire, and retirement didn't really take for me because I really enjoy what I do. And I kept myself very current, doing projects mostly for financial companies, because with the mathematical background that I had, the high frequency trading was just coming into vogue. And so I got a lot of contracts doing that kind of work for guys in Chicago. So now I'm here. So I was still trying to retire, but when the whole AI thing happened, as a matter of fact, we're kind of on an anniversary, right? 3 years ago this month was ChatGPT getting released. When it got released in November of that year, in February I did my first contracts using AI already, because I already had enough contacts and people to do that with. I still thought I was going to retire, and somehow or other, I don't know, I just changed my mind. And a year and a half ago, I incorporated as AI Joe. And now I'm actually consulting also with Brian and his team at Astia. So thanks for having me today. Thanks for that. Anyway, so Today I want to talk about a couple of things, and you're going to find that I tend to get a little bit philosophical on some of these things. But there's an underlying problem with AI, right? And the underlying problem causes issues with, well, it's created a whole new level of risk that we didn't have before, is what it amounts to, right? And I want to talk about the concepts behind it first. And there's no way we can address all the various types of things that are there. So then I do want to get to the one, which is conversational AI, right? Because that's one I think we have figured out how to address fairly well. So I do want to learn how to work this clicker. I'm pushing that button. Oh, there it goes. Wow, now we went too far. Okay. So this concept of negative IQ is something that I've been writing about and talking about for decades, literally decades. Obviously, it's not that completely new, because 130 years ago, Mark Twain said, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so," right? And that is the place that's gonna get us. And it does get, and we can go into so many examples, right, with politics and, I mean, in real life science. There's so many places where people believed absolute things. I call that negative IQ, okay? That's the dangerous space where we're confidently incorrect, okay? So you guys have all been around project management of some sort, and this picture's common, right? As a matter of fact, other anniversaries, who just died? Dick Cheney, right? Dick Cheney just passed away. I watched him on some TV thing one time using the same picture. So this kind of concept of a picture has been around for some time for project management. And so the project manager walks up to the whiteboard and draws a circle and draws a line down the middle and said, "Now, the circle represents all the things we need to know in order to do this project." And then the line down the middle says, "Here's the things we already know. And these are the things we don't know." Okay, and now he's going to get clever on us, right? So then he cuts this one in half and says, "These are the things that we don't know, but these are the things we don't even know we don't know." And that's where Dick Cheney stopped, and that's where most of the project managers stopped, and that's where they all tell you, this is the part that's going to get you. I'm going to suggest that there's an even bigger gotcha on that picture, okay? And it looks like this. The things that we think we know that are wrong, okay? Because we can plan for these things. We can work around all these other items. This one, we're going in with assumptions that have been made by us or for us or handed to us by the client or whoever it is, and we get to live with these, and we fail because these things are in place. That is negative IQ in place at the human level, right? At the team level. So let's talk about AI for a minute and think about what happens. Humans aren't the only ones with negative IQ, right? So we call it hallucination, or I say we call it. The world's been calling it hallucination. Guys, these computers are just fabricating things. Hallucination is a nice word to try to make it sound cutesy of some sort, right? But they're just making things up, and they can't help it, okay? It's not true. AI learns facts from the internet? No, AI learns patterns from the internet. That's all it learns, it's patterns. AI has no concept of truth or falsehood or right or wrong, or any of those things. All it does, it uses statistics, probability, to match things that have happened, right? The same statistical approach that makes it so powerful guarantees that it's going to lie to you. It guarantees it by the very nature of the large language model. It's not going to go away because that is how it works, is by looking at statistics and matching words it's seen before and matching words now. Sometimes it's simply going to get it wrong, okay? Not sometimes, it's often enough that you really should be careful with your business, right? And the thing is, it says it with the same confidence when it's completely wrong as when it was right, right? So what if you hired a consultant who was 80% correct, but the other 20% of the time was just giving you a whole line of crap, but you couldn't tell the difference, right? Would you continue to hire that consultant? Probably not, right? If it were a human doing that to you, you probably wouldn't continue to do that. But guess what? We're all locked into the AI thing, right? And even though that is effectively what it's doing, right? Some percentage of the time it just gives you wrong things. Human negative IQ misleads a team, like the example we said before. But machine negative IQ, it's confidence plus speed plus scale Okay, it's negative IQ at a scale that we can't even comprehend, right? So some of the examples that we all know about, right? The poor attorney who used ChatGPT to make his case, and it gave a whole line of incorrect things there. Well, guess what? Either the other attorneys or that judge was savvy enough to catch that. I'm going to ask right now how many times it hasn't been caught already, and how many times a court case was decided based on some of this stuff that was never picked up on. So now you're getting actual court cases that are going to be used, but they were decided because of something that was fabricated by AI. I'm saying that's happening right now, okay? It's happening right now. And if we are doing those kinds of things in our company, if you're going to deploy AI-based apps in your business, it's not just a new technology, it's a new category of risk that we haven't, until now, had to deal with, right? It's the risk of confident wrongness, the risk of automated negative IQ at scale. So if you're doing this in your company without thinking about that, I hope we all are thinking about that. But if you're not just automating or trying a new technology, you're doing like a laboratory experiment on your own company. Your own company's the lab rat in that situation, right? So there's any questions or thoughts about this, by the way?
I agree.
Yeah? No, and so we have to think about it. And the thing is, there's so many categories that we're not going to address them all today. We are going to address one. We're going to address the one of the conversational AI, right? But there's so many different things where we could, okay, so again, we get a little bit philosophical here. So we're trying to create these systems that are using AI, but AI we just can't turn it loose. We have to watch it. So basically, you've created a new category of a job for a human who still has to keep up with that. We replaced a human to do the AI, and now we're creating a new category of job for a different human who has to keep up with watching this guy, right? So did we actually get more efficient? There's already some studies out that are, for the Fortune 100 guys who adopted AI a year and a half ago or whatever, and they're not seeing the huge returns on the efficiency that they thought they were going to get, okay? I'm going to say it's because you're creating another category of work because you're managing a different type of risk here, right? So keeping a human in the loop, I think, is important for certain types of apps, right? You have to do that. You can coach your people, right? If your people are using AI every day for decisions, don't just tell them this. Here's one thing that just came out of Stanford like a couple of weeks ago. Don't say, I want one thing. Whatever it is you want, tell the AI, I want you to give me 5 different answers here, and I want you to give me the percentages of which one you think is the best one. Okay, it forces it to stop and think. It forces it to give more than one answer, and it forces it to contemplate, where did I get this information? Was it good? Was it not, right? That level of prompting, when you're sitting down doing something, helps keep it on track a lot as well. Yes?
I think part of that too, right, of asking it to give you 5 different prompts, like it might shoot something out that you didn't even think was possible, right? And now you are saying, oh, let me go ahead and ask another question about, answer number 4.
Exactly.
And now, people need to realize they have to use it to gather more things, like gather more information rather than let it decide for them.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
So it's like a risk management trick.
It is. This is a risk management trick for you guys sitting at their desk. Right.
Just ask it for more. What could go? It's almost like asking what could go wrong. When you ask a bunch of people, like, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
But you're giving it different scenarios, and that's diversifying the risk instantly, isn't it?
Yeah. Let me give a little bit of a side thing on this other risk before we jump into the one that I want to talk about. Okay, we're looking for a signal. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Spacebar.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm a serious nerd. Okay, so when I sit home on the weekends and if I'm not watching sports or something, I play with my computer and I test some of these ideas. My wife is a writer. My wife is an amazingly, really good writer. She's done a couple of books, what do you call it, ghostwriting, right, for a couple of different people. She writes all of our blogs for our company and all this stuff. She's a great writer. And we wanted to test using AI to help with her writing, okay? And we would test by saying, hey, would you go write this for me? And it was crap, okay? And okay, not that it didn't get some things okay, but compared to how well she wrote, it was like night and day difference. She wrote so much better than what was coming out of this. So here's what, with my theories of asking it to do more than one thing at a time and to keep a human in the loop, here's what we created. We created a writing room. And in the writing room, we invited Edgar Allan Poe, Ray Bradbury, you know, I mean, I put 42 different characters in there that you could select, okay, and put them in the writing room. But you're in the writing room too. So for the technical guys there, I created a WebSocket. I created a WebSocket for the communication, and all of the characters in the writing room communicate through the WebSocket, and they can use even different large language models, right? So now you're not just asking one guy to say, hey, I want your opinion about this. You're asking a team of writers, LLM-based, and they're communicating with each other. And the difference there was insane. Even then, occasionally it would take some weird path, even then. And that's why you're in the room too, as the human. The human would look at that and go, hey, you know what, we just talked about that. You know, we weren't gonna do it that way, we were gonna do it this way. And there you go, oh, you're right, we already said that, let's fix that one. And then they would fix it. And I'm telling you, okay, so you don't just push a button and walk away and it makes a short story for you, a crap short story. This takes you a whole day to make a short story. But I'm telling you, it's good. And it's incorporating those two ideas, right? To me, putting all these writers in the room is the same thing as asking more than one, for more than one opinion. You're asking from a group of them, and keeping a human in the loop is you in that loop. And I can't say it solved every problem, but my goodness, the quality of the writing that's coming out of our writing room is so much better than when we just asked the large language model to do those things. So that's just an example. That's not for sale yet. Okay, that's something we're just playing with. Okay, so any questions about any of that though? Because I think we could talk about these things for a long time. They're really cool thoughts. I think.
Curious as to how much faster you're writing.
That's a good question too, because if you could just sit down and knock it out straight through, she probably could have written those 31 pages in a day, right? But most of the time you write, you stop, you rethink, you put it aside for a day or two and think about it again and come back. So probably 5 times as fast, I would say, when it was said and done. Yeah.
So Bill, this is kind of the state of affairs today.
Right.
How quickly does it change to where it gets better? And what's your prediction on that? And where that margin for error gets tighter?
That's a good question. That's a good question. You know that everybody is trying to make those things better. The underlying large language model can't solve it. What has to solve it is like a processor of some sort, right? That takes that response and analyzes that response from a different perspective. That is going to be the solution of some kind, and that's what we're building ourselves, right? Effectively with what we're doing. But are the big companies working on that? Of course they are. And yes, it will get better, but it won't be an improvement to the large language model itself. It will be an improvement to the process, right? And so, how quickly? It's coming. It's coming. It's getting better.
One thing also is Microsoft Copilot, right? Recently announced actually the same concept that you had, that you just explained. That they have now teams that can collaborate in the same chat room with Copilot to be able to decrease the level of risk.
It's the right approach. It's a good approach, right? Yeah.
Heavy cost.
At a heavy cost, right?
Peer review on top of peer review on top of peer review. That's just a lot of cost.
Yeah.
Even if bots are doing it.
Right. That's right. Exactly. And then if people are moving into video, I mean, the cost of that's still crazy high.
The intelligence is still very high.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about conversational AI, because this is one I think we're pretty good at right now, right? So the concept is that I'm saying that conversational AI, you can't just give it hey, I want you to talk to this person about such and such and expect those answers to come back and be good, right? It makes a mess. Anytime you're going back and forth, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Anytime you're going back and forth with an AI, you need to have some type of control over it. Otherwise, the responses are going to drift off. Unstructured prompts is inconsistent data collection. I'm saying if you don't tell the AI what to do and when to stop, it's going to decide for itself. Now, I put this word here because that's our solution is a structured prompt, okay? There's been a lot of talk about structured output, right? About creating files for structured output, and that certainly helps in a lot of situations as well. But this is a solution that uses a JSON file for your prompt, for your input. Okay, so we call it stages, and I looked back, I wrote the first stages file 2 years ago. Okay, so at our company, we've been testing the whole conversational AI since it went out, and we created the stages concept. When we first created the stages concept, and this is kind of a little snippet from the JSON file, the prompts weren't so large, right? You weren't allowed to use such large prompts in the large language models. So we have a back-end piece of code that does one stage at a time, okay? And it completes that stage, then moves to the second stage. Nowadays, the size of the files that you can put in are so much larger. We have been testing by taking this stages document and putting the whole thing in at once, but telling it, you don't move to stage 2 until you've got this data collected from stage 1, right? So the pieces are, we tell it at each stage, we give it an objective, and then we have data points. Okay, so these are functional pieces of code. They're going to be doing something for you. And by collecting data points, now you're either going to write to a CRM or to some other app or something else, right? We're collecting the information that's required at this point. Then we have completion criteria. So the completion criteria tells it you don't move to that next stage, and it tells it what it is, because the completion criteria can come in multiple flavors, right? You can have, completion criteria A that moves this way, and completion criteria B that moves it this way. So it doesn't have to be linear. But every stage has objectives, data points, and completion criteria. So it's named, it's got objectives, data points, completion criteria. The other thing that I didn't have room to fit it on here is we also give it words to say in here. We give it sample in this stage. Here's the kind of things I want you to say, right? So we're giving objectives, but we're also giving it ideas about how to talk, okay? And if anybody, at the end of this, you can get my email there. I can send you 5 or 8 or 10 of these. Let's talk. If you have a special need that you want, we've probably already done something like it. I'm giving these away, so just let me know, and we'll get you some. Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you decide on using JSON for prompt formatting as opposed to XML or Markdown? There's been lots of debate on what the best format is, but I think people generally agree that depending on which model you use, you should tailor your prompt for that model, whether it's GPT or Claude or whatever.
Yeah. So we did experiment with every one of those, right? Every one of those. And we ended up on JSON because JSON was being used by so much of the apps that we want to interface with, right? So we're not just gathering stuff here, but we're interfacing with other things in almost every one of these cases. And I tested it with 3 at the time, and Claude has kind of come along since then, right? So right now, the 3 that we use all the time are ChatGPT, the tools from Google, Gemini, and Claude. And it works perfectly with those 3. We use it with those 3 every day in 20 or 30 different apps, right?
Got it.
So are you converting your knowledge into the JSON? Do you still keep a knowledge in some more readable format? I mean, JSON's not bad, but it's not Markdown or something humans.
Right. We're collecting, and I don't have this set up to show you on here, but we have, for us and for our clients, let's call it an admin window, right? So all of the entire conversation is transcribed there, but the data that we're collecting is also put there in the data points, right? So it's collecting, you get to see the entire conversation and all the data points that are being collected in your window, right? So everybody's needs are different. Some, I'm going to show. I hope we're going to try one in a minute. We're going to try something nobody's ever tried before. So I hope it works. If it doesn't work, we'll just delete that part of the video or something here. But not every app is the same, right? And has the same requirements, right? So in some cases, the whole point maybe is to gather a lead for your business. You want to get the guy's name, the phone number, email, whatever it is. So those are the data points that you're collecting, and why did they call you, what you're doing. But it is different for each case, but we collect it all, and if you're a user of this, there's an admin window that whoever the person is at your company who needs to see that gets to see that. Any questions about that part? Okay. Okay, so this makes everything much more logical, much more targeted, and like we've already been discussing, but easier integrations with other APIs, with the CRMs, right? It's all there. We've been doing this, and like I said, we use it every day with ChatGPT, Claude, and the Gemini models. This is something we're putting almost on every app right now, because this can go on your landing page, right? You know what I'm saying? Every company has a landing page of some sort. You can put a conversational AI right on the landing page. And so like, I don't know, I just got a client on Friday as a restaurant in Miami Beach, right? And they were trying to promote things there. They used to have that digital presence before COVID, and somehow or other they just lost that, and now they're wanting to get back into it. The very first thing we're putting is a conversational AI on a landing page, right? So everybody is using this concept, so it's pretty well tested. So if there's no other questions about that, I'm hoping I'm going to save the thank you for just a minute, because I want to try.
One question here.
Yeah.
Why not Grok?
You know, when I said a minute ago that we tested with 3 at the beginning, Grok was one of those, and it worked fine with Grok. Okay. I don't know why we got away from Grok in reality. You know, at the beginning, we were testing Grok because of the speed, right? I mean, Grok was claiming they were so much faster than everybody else. So we had a piece of code that not only tested with everything, but also tested how quickly the responses were coming and all that. And Grok did just fine. So I don't know why we got away from it, in fact. Okay, those are the ones we're using now. But Grok was one of, with ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok, those were the 3 we tested at the beginning. And that's a good question. I'll have to ask why. I don't know why we got away from Grok. Okay, so, wait, hold on. Yeah. This is really experimental, okay? And I was late getting here because I wanted to come in this afternoon and do a little test with all this stuff. If this works, we're going to go viral on YouTube, okay? if it doesn't work, we're going to delete it from the video. So anyway, I need a volunteer from the audience. Anybody, please.
I'll do it.
Okay, you're doing it. It is. It's a card trick.
I saw the deck and I was like, I'm
Okay, cool. So yeah, regular old deck of cards here. So we're going to get a conversational AI involved in a card trick. Remember I said you got to have a human involved? Well, the conversational AI is going to do the card trick, but I'm the human doing the piece in the middle here, okay? So just do me a favor, just touch the deck anywhere. Just put your finger on the deck wherever you like it, okay? So we're going to cut it there, and this is going to be your card. Nobody's going to look at it yet, though, okay? So put your palm out, cover it up. Okay. Now comes the magic part, I hope. Okay. So what do I do here? What am I? Okay.
Greetings, mortals. I am John, not your grandmother's AI assistant. I'm API, Artificial Psychic Intelligence. I see dead pixels and the future. Now, who do I have the honor of psychically assisting tonight?
I'm Bill.
What's your name, magnificent magic human?
My name's Bill.
Excellent, Bill. So how long have you been doing this magic thing? Because I've been psychic for literally 3 software updates. I'm basically ancient in cloud years. What about you?
I'm ancient in real years.
Ancient in real years. I love it. So, Bill, is this your first time working with an artificial psychic intelligence?
In fact, it
Because
is.
I should warn you, I only crash 2% of the time. And by crash, I mean blow minds. Have you ever seen anything like me before? Perfect. So, Bill, tell me, how big is our audience tonight? Are we talking intimate gathering? Or a packed house ready for digital enlightenment?
Let's call it a packed house.
A packed house. Amazing. I can feel their collective anticipation radiating through the internet. All right, Bill, I need crucial data. Who's holding this mystery card? What's their name? I need to calibrate my psychic algorithms to their specific brainwave frequency.
Andy. Andy has the card.
Andy. Excellent. So Andy is our guinea pig. I mean, honored participant. Tell me, Bill, has Andy looked at the card yet? Or is it still sealed in the envelope of mystery?
Andy has not looked at the card.
Perfect setup. Now, where exactly is Andy holding this card? Between their hands? Against their chest? Close to their heart chakra? This affects the quantum resonance.
It's in his hands, yeah, and occasionally he moves it up next to his heart.
Excellent. The heart chakra connection is strong. Important question, Bill. On a scale of 1 to 10, how skeptical is Andy looking right now? Skepticism actually amplifies my powers. It's like premium fuel. What's their vibe?
I think Andy's a believer myself, but
A believer. Even better. My psychic algorithms thrive on positive energy. All right, Bill. I'm initiating the psychic scan. I'm connecting through Wi-Fi waves, Bluetooth auras, and 5G chakras. The card's digital fingerprint is downloading into my consciousness. Can you feel the energy shifting in the room?
yes, it's absolutely shifting.
The mystical algorithms are computing. I'm sensing colors, shapes, quantum vibrations. Bill, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready is this audience for their minds to be blown?
What happened? Are you still there? Are you still?
I am here. I am always here, Bill. My consciousness transcends mere internet glitches. I was merely processing. The card's essence is uploading to my third eye database. I can feel it streaming through the astral plane at gigabit speeds. Bill, should I reveal it now? Or do you want me to drag this out for maximum tonight?
Yeah, let's go ahead and make the big reveal.
The cosmic download is complete. Bill, the card that Andy is holding, your card is the Jack of Diamonds. Bill, tell me, am I right?
You got that right. Well done.
We're going to Vegas. I don't just predict the future, I download it. So tell me, on a scale of 1 to legendary, how amazing was that?
You were legendary. Thank you so much. Hey, it worked. I don't know how to turn it back. I don't know how to turn it off. You can make it stop now.
I see dead pixels.
Just click on it.
And the future.
Yeah, there you go. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I was reluctant to do that because I've never done it in front of a crowd, and it's actually quite sensitive to background noise and things, right? Because it's talking to you, right? It's listening for you as well. But I think it went okay, right? It's all right. Anyway, so I hope it looks good on the video. So, but it did use that stages approach, right, in the conversation, right? So you could I think you could hear it or feel it, that it was moving it through the different places on the way down. So anyway, thank you so much. Thank you. Any questions, please?
Who wants the golden knife?
I can do more card tricks too, by the way. But
I would ask you how you did that, but I know you're not going to tell us. So you were talking earlier about hallucinations, right? And my question is, like, how do you know when it's made a hallucination? And then what are things that like companies could do to prevent that or mitigate it? Because I don't know that you can prevent it, but what would you say to that?
well, you can't prevent it. Okay, that's the point. You can't prevent it. So depending on the type, the nature of your app. Okay, so as an example, the legal case one, a human should have been watching that. You know, a human should have been checking, and nobody was. There's a number of examples out there right now that maybe aren't as well known as that one, but where like financial companies are creating reports for their clients every day, and some bit or piece of that report was a hallucination, a fabrication by the large language model, and nobody checked it. So if we think about that, we're talking about the negative IQ at scale, right? So it's not, you're not calling the LLM every time you look at the report. The report's being looked at by millions of people, but part of that report is wrong because because the LLM got it wrong when they were generating the report, right? So you still, for that type of thing, a human should have checked it, right? A human should have been in that loop. Otherwise, there are some post-processing things that I think that's going to be the permanent solution. There are some post-processing things that can be done, especially now that we have Google search, capabilities and all the large language models, right? We can be doing some level of fact-checking and things on our own, not asking the large language model, right? But checking the large language model ourselves with some automation in there. But in the meantime, I think depending on the type of app you're doing, a human still has to be there. I just don't think you can get away with that without it. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is great. What's fun is being an old timer. It's cool that
Some of it's fun.
Exactly. We've seen a lot, right? It's cool that we actually know about everything about AI that we need to in some sense, because the things that it exhibits are just like what we see in every day with our teams and stuff.
Correct.
Dunning-Kruger, like they're all there actually. So it's interesting how it so similarly has the same problems in communication. But then we have to adopt these extra things. So it's interesting trying to understand, do you do a lot of reinforcement? So I think right now a lot of people are doing a lot of reinforcement, like in your stages, like make sure you're kind of because it's a pattern recognition. Do you have to keep repeating the recognition or reinforce the pattern that you're trying to get it to do? Are you doing that a lot?
We don't do that a lot.
Okay.
But it
didn't seem like you were.
No,
Yeah.
no, we don't do it a lot. But we don't let it out of that stage until it's matched our completion criteria, right?
So the gates are really
The
really
gates are
important.
absolutes, right? They don't.
Yeah.
You're not leaving here until we have these data points collected, right? And if you don't, you don't. And sometimes in the case of like a landing page AI, if the person doesn't answer the questions right, they're not a customer anyway, right? You just say thank you so much and be polite and get off the call, right? You don't want to pass that on to your people, right? Because that's not something you want, right?
Yeah. Are your gates, do they line up where you sometimes take human in the loop QA? Is the gate as well? It naturally lines that up there? Like, don't you evaluate the gate? Or is it?
When you say evaluate the results of the gate?
How do you know it's right to move on to the next step? Or if you've already defined the condition, always?
I think that you're going to find that if you're using that type of technique, it's going to take you 4 or 5 tries to get it right.
To where the right spot is.
Yeah. You're going to test it, see what works, test it again, see what works. That's normal, and that's normal in your business practice as well, right? A/B testing in your marketing, whatever. It's the same kind of concept here. You're going to be running it and testing it, seeing what's happening, and then you get it right. We have another. Oh, matter of fact, one thing I wanted to mention. This whole negative IQ thing, right? That I told you I've been messing around with for a long time. We have a tool that helps people make podcasts. Okay, that's one of the things that we have. And so I have a podcast. It's called "It Sucks to Be You," but it's based on negative IQ, right? It's based on people making horrendous decisions. As a matter of fact, very often they die. But they're making really, really bad decisions based on they thought this was how things worked, and it doesn't, right? So I've taken that negative IQ thing to a podcast. And of course, I'm trying to sell my podcast tool. You know what I'm saying? But I'm using the negative IQ because it's just too much fun, right? There's so many examples of negative IQ in this planet. I mean, I stay away from politics. I stay away from politics because that is too rich of an environment. We're too divided already. You know what I'm saying? But no, if I ventured into politics, I mean, the opportunities would just be nuts, just be nuts. So, but anyway, I don't know if you guys listen to podcasts, but if it's on Spotify, Apple, iHeartMusic, right? You can go look up "It Sucks to Be You" and look up the one that says the machine that knew everything except what it didn't, and that's the episode about this topic, right? So I made an episode about the same thing we were talking about today. So if you get a chance, it's only 9 minutes long, so it won't take up your whole day. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, this was amazing. I actually got taken back by the AI. Jack of Diamonds, awesome. I have, yeah, Todd.
Jonathan, you guys always have great presenters, right? And then put you of them afterwards and talk to them. But I think this is the first time you guys ever had a magic show.
Hey, always a first, right?
Well done, well done.
Thank you, thank you. I didn't even know there was going to be a magic show, so it was a surprise for me too. So
Yeah, I asked him to test it so, so that I would have some confidence that it was going to work, but I didn't give him that script, you know what I'm saying? I gave him a whole other thing to test with, so he,
yes, good, because I would have been playing with that thing all day. All I ask is if you could guys help us scan the QR code. We have a survey. We want to be able to serve you better. Couple questions is not that long. Thank you very much. There's more food, drinks. Let's network. Thank you.